Kelly Jo Jeffries is watching us via Zoom, and
Hi, Kelly Jo.
And Michelle Crawford as well. So that's the camera that's working for Zoom because it picks up more of a wide angle than the laptop.
Sounds great.
Just so you know. Okay, I have the time is 10:02. I think we have everyone ready to start. Judge, you ready?
I'm ready.
Very good.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order at 10:02 a.m. on July 6th. Would the board members please state their names for the record for attendance? Start with you.
John Garrity, Gonzalez Recovery Board.
Candie, Burbick, Portage County Board of Education.
And Amy Papesh, Probate Court. So all board members are in attendance. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. We have a unanimously approved agenda. Let's move on to the approval of the minutes from May 2nd. Those have been provided to us in our packet here today and were previously presented to us via email. Can I get a motion to please approve the minutes from the last board meeting, which would have been May 2nd, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on those minutes? There being no discussion, can I please get a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. The approval of the May 2nd meeting minutes has been approved unanimously. Moving on to public comments. Does anybody in the gallery with us today have any comments or anything that they would like to bring to our attention?
Madam Chair, I would like to at least have the members of the public noted for the record today.
Excellent.
We have in the gallery area Norm Thomas, who's a court investigator, Rebecca Stotts-Hauptman, who's our new volunteer, and we have Stephanie Greenback, who's our new case manager. And in the back, if you'd please announce yourself for the record.
Megan Hardy, court investigator. Lucille Johnson, deputy clerk for the guardianship, adult guardianships.
Teresa Lowell, Chief Deputy Clerk.
Heather Yashi, Magistrate Court Administrator for Probate Court.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Diane.
Any comments, input, feedback?
I would just like to say, as this was the first month since getting here 2.5 years ago, that I had somewhere to send somebody that could actually do something about a question about a possible guardian, and that felt really good. So that I didn't have to just go, well, you can give us a referral to throw on a stack.
Right.
So I actually felt like I could help, and which is what we've always wanted to do, so thank you.
It looks like we have Brian Higgins joining us as
Sorry,
well
I'm
from
late.
Family and Community Services. No, thanks, Brian. We just wanted to know. We're at public comment, so it was perfect timing.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Do you have any comments?
No, I mean, we're excited about the new partnership, so I mean, we're all in on our end.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. Okay.
Okay, so we're going to move on to new business, and the first thing on the agenda is the GSB volunteer introduction and swearing in by the judge of Barbara, but I don't believe Barbara is.
Barbara is, unfortunately
with
was on
us
vacation today. So
Okay.
we do have with us Rebecca Stutz-Troutman, who will be
Yes.
sworn in by the judge. And if I could just make a couple of comments.
Sure.
We haven't even started really an official volunteer recruitment yet, but we're extremely lucky to have the two volunteers that step forward. Rebecca actually found us on the website, which made me feel good because the website was working to help recruit, and she filled out the application online, and then we followed up from there. Barbara Hemling actually is also a CASA volunteer and came to us through Norma Thomas as a suggested referral because she's an RN who has a specialization in geriatrics. So our program was of great interest to her. So even though we don't have Barbara here today to swear in, we would like to ask Judge Smith to go ahead and swear in Rebecca at this time. Rebecca, if you want to come forward, please. Yeah, that's fine.
I don't, oh, you're not on the camera.
Well, yeah, right
If
there.
you want to be on the camera, I need to be over here, right?
Yeah, right there.
I'm
is
like, I
fine.
want to see. But then I go over and see. You're good right where you
Okay.
are. All right, if you'll raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Rebecca Stutes Troutman,
Rebecca Stoops-Troutman,
affirm under the penalties of perjury
affirm under the penalties of perjury
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
discharge my duties
discharge my duties
as a guardianship support volunteer
as a guardianship support volunteer
for Portage County
for the Portage County
Guardianship Service Board,
Guardianship Service Board,
and that all information received
and that all information received
by me in the performance
by me in the
of
performance
such
of
duties
such duties
will be held in strict confidence
will be held in strict confidence
and will be divulged
and will be divulged
only when consistent with the laws of Ohio.
only when consistent with the laws of Ohio.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Yep, we have a little certificate for
We
you.
keep this, and
But
this.
she needs to sign it.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right. Go ahead.
If you want to sign there and date,
Yep.
I already signed it.
I like that pledge.
Pledge of allegiance.
It's got
And I'll make a copy of that for you,
confidentiality
Rebecca.
right in there.
We'll go ahead and have you keep this. This is a certified copy of the judge's order that authorizes us to conduct volunteer
Which is the only
visits.
one I know, I sworn.
And then there's your certificate and your official badge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We're
you.
very
Aboard.
excited.
Just a little background on Rebecca. She is an SSA administrator and is very familiar with the DD community. So we're very grateful to have her experience and background with us. She lives in Ravenna, but works in Summit County, so was wanting to volunteer close to home in our own community. So we're very grateful that you stepped forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Welcome. Okay, we have the introduction of the GSB case manager, Stephanie Greenbank.
Stephanie, would you please stand up? Stephanie Greenbank is our new case manager, comes to us from Summit County Adult Protective Services. Tell us a little bit about your background so the board becomes a little more familiar with you.
I have a background in, I'm a home health aide certified. That's when I started my career, was taking care of elderly. Then I went back to college, got my bachelor's of science in psychology with specialization in geriatric psychology. And then as soon as I graduated, 2 weeks later, I started working at Adult Protective Services in Summit County. So I've been there for 2 years, and then I came here.
And 2 years was an excellent time to get all kinds of case management experience, so she's
And
really hit the
guardianship
ground.
experience.
And guardianship
as well. Yeah,
experience,
we
right.
filed guardianships in Summit County.
Thank you very much.
Welcome,
We're so glad to have you. We couldn't have asked for a more perfect case manager to help start us off. She's hit the ground running, knows all the players, knows all the agencies, and it's been hugely beneficial. So thanks, Stephanie.
It's very focused. Thank you. Okay, the financial report will be provided by Diana.
So I gave you a one-page overview, the status of the budget for June. Just to explain a little bit about the formatting, we're halfway through our calendar year budget, so that's why at the top it says 50% year-to-date. And then as you go down that bar column on the right, it gives the percentage of the budgeted amount that we've consumed so far to this point of the year. So that way you know where we are in relation to what was budgeted. Everything is under budget except for the computers, monitors, and printers were at 50.61%, but that's because we had to buy everything at the front end. So Stephanie and I actually had something to work on. But I think there's a few more items left to come in there with respect to Stephanie's equipment, which was acquired after mine. But otherwise, we're well within our budget and on target. So I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has with respect to the report, or if you'd like the report in a different format, let me know. I'm happy to do that.
How will volunteers submit their reports? Will it be via computer, electronically, or paper?
Right. They can do it either way. They can fill it out on their computers,
Okay.
or they can fill it out by hand. I know lots of times they want to be able to fill out a paper copy because, you know, they've got a notebook and they're in a facility meeting with someone. But they can certainly do it either way. Those reports are generally going to get filed with us and not with the court, but if there's something that the court needs to be made aware of, whether it's a monthly report or an annual visitation report, we'll file it with the court so that the judicial officers are aware of what's going on and what needs attention.
But at this time, there's not gonna be any software for that.
No,
Okay.
no, we do, well, the guardianship software, I was going to address in my executive director's report. We did acquire the e-guardianship case monitoring software, but that's different than the completion of the visitation reports.
Okay,
I'll explain that in a little bit.
thank you.
Just a quick question. So we're 50% into the year, we go by the calendar year, and we've spent about 21.5% of the budget. So we'll probably have a pretty substantial carryover. We have it looks like we'll have pretty consistent expenses monthly in this budget.
I believe so. As with most nonprofits, the majority of the budget is in salaries and benefits. And that's going to be static through the rest of the year. Even though my entire salary was budgeted for the year, I didn't come on board until April, so there's 3 months that's not going to get paid out and can roll over to the next year.
Okay. And then I'll find out if we want to do a carryover or just start the new budget. I know the state has a combination of those things for us. We'll get carryover and some new funds, or no carryover and the whole budget again. And I know you want to take a look at the budget for next year also.
Right, and I'm going to have a draft for you on the budget by the next meeting in September.
Great. Perfect.
And we can talk what approach you want to take at that time, although, the concept of a carryover with additional funding, I think, makes the most sense.
Carryover will help.
Exactly.
For the first year, or for
Right.
the second year.
Well, and as you pointed out, it hasn't been a full year of operation, so that makes sense.
One thing also, a lot of the courts have, specialty dockets have special funding from OMAS, and I don't believe they have it for guardianship in particular, but would there be any state agencies that we might appeal to?
Judge, Heather? Any thoughts on
For
that?
guardianship?
Yeah, for
Not that
guardianship
I am
funding,
aware
docket
of.
funding.
I've been aware of, kind of scouring and
Yeah.
looking to see, and I have not found anything specific for guardianship.
I'll double check with OMAS, and now with that House Bill 33, there's a lot of kind of innovative things that the governor is
That's
bringing,
true.
so there might be some new funding streams that we could tap into.
I was gonna say, it might be just a matter of being creative in our wording on how we use it,
Right.
too.
Right, link it to behavioral health needs
Absolutely.
and that kind of thing.
And what does OMAS stand for?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services.
Thank you.
Sorry. Acronym
Appreciate it.
broke.
I know.
Thank you.
And I'm happy, since I will be making a draft of the budget, any thoughts on any additional agencies that you think we might be able to approach for supplemental funding? I'm happy to explore that, between now and when we meet in September. And I plan on opening up any additional avenues of funding for us that we can.
And we're a 501c3, or no, what
No,
is
it's
our?
a county
It's a
board.
County board. Are we able to accept private donors?
I don't believe so.
No, I think that's
Okay.
gonna end up being the 501c3 branch that will
Okay.
start.
Okay.
But I feel like, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn and Brian's sitting back there and his ears are gonna perk up. But we have Direction Home has given us a donation towards this program. And I know when we first started doing this, we talked with Mark Frizone a lot. And I think that Family and Community Services may be willing to pitch in some funds for this. So maybe we can explore some of that and see. I know Mark was very much on board with this, and we needed to get started, so we started with DD and Board of Mental Health, because you guys are the majority of the cases.
And the board seats.
And the board seats, right. So that was kind of where we were, but I don't see why, as already we're seeing actual progress. we're actually seeing cases being worked on. So I think we can talk to these other community partners about contribution if they're willing.
If I may, like, for example, with Direction Home, you know, part of theirs, because of the way they get their funding, the way they made the donation to us was limited a bit, you know, on startup funds. They were able to, divert some of theirs as long as we used it for startup. Hence, a big chunk of what they gave us went to purchase the software for Guardianship. So that's why our line looks halfway decent for some of that office equipment. It's because
they gave us the money.
Direction Home, gave us a nice chunk there. I know also Kelly Jo Jeffries at JFS was going to be looking over her budget to see if there were some places she could work within her budget to help fund. So there are things where we could potentially, with community partners, maybe, not sustaining dollars, but for certain different aspects of the operational costs. We have looked into potentially starting a 501c3 as a side venue to also throw funding in. So in other words, they could go out and do fundraising efforts on behalf of this program.
But it wouldn't
and then
be to support the
enhance,
board.
Services. And really what that would be is to try to enhance the volunteers, right? Who we anticipate relying on quite a bit, being able to handle the volume without increasing the expenses. So how do you support volunteers? You got to do some recruitment, retention, appreciation, and the thought was to use a 501c3 to kind of help with the expenses of maintaining a volunteer force. However, obviously it's up to you guys as a board to get more creative, or if you got other ideas.
Right.
But those were just some of the initial thoughts of the 501c3 was more to help support the volunteer aspect of the program.
And we'll discuss the 501c3 probably at the September meeting. It's something that I see we'll be in a position to start exploring after the first of the year. We're really just trying to get up and running right now, and then we can put more time into the nonprofit next year, recruiting more volunteers and having additional funding sources through the 501c3 to help fund the volunteer program. And also to the extent that, like the CASA 501c3 helps to buy some necessary supplies for kids. We've already, got a client that we've applied to be guardian for who needs some shoes. He wanders at night. He likes to walk the halls, but all he has are some old clogs that somebody picked up at Walmart. And so, we'd like to be able to use the 501c3 to help our indigent clients when necessary to improve the quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I will tell you that a lot of the attorneys who took on these cases, that we begged and pleaded, I used to go, and I know you did as well.
We do.
I used to buy stuff for my wards, out of my pocket. And, whether it was their favorite candy bar or some Coca-Cola or cigarettes.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah,
We bought
exactly.
clothing. So the attorneys did it out of their pockets, and so we're hoping that we don't want our volunteers to do that. The no quicker way to lose a volunteer is to burn them out and have them spend their own money. And so my 501c3 with my CASA, we are helping the volunteers by giving them gas cards, so that it helps pay for their gas when they're driving around to go see these children. We are, we provide, for CASA, we provide training, monthly training. And these people get more training than what a normal GAL would get. But that makes them better. And we want this program to be the best. So the 501c3 is hopefully going to raise the funds to, as Heather said, to support, retain, recruit these volunteers so that it lightens the load on the actual board. Because if we don't have volunteers, then we need more staff. And the staff gets paid for out of board, right? So the more volunteers we have, the less professional staff we need. In a year and a half, I now have 1 full and 2 part-time staff at my CASA program, and within a job description out there looking for another full-time. So we're gonna have 2 full-time and 2 part-time professionals in the office, right? And that's for the CASA program, so, which is no bigger, no smaller than what we're trying to do here. It's just the different population. Those are children, these are adults. So I don't see it being much different. And, you know, it's, the volunteers have served, well, I only have the statistics from year 1, because you know how long it takes for all that stuff. Year 1, we started March 11th of 2022, and by the end of 2022, we had served over 50 children in Portage County, and my volunteers put in over 1,800 volunteer hours.
That's great.
So we saved the county, I don't know, over $200,000, I think, in fees to GAL attorneys. So, same thing
Yeah.
with adults.
You know, I was just thinking too, we have recovery support funding for specialty dockets, like Hope Court has it, we were able to get it for your new juvie drug court. Both the specialty docket funding with those recovery supports to buy people, like if they don't have shoes. I
Right.
mean, they are court ordered up to a guardianship, and they're a lot,
We're not a
especially,
technical specialty docket though.
no.
But
Yeah, we
Supreme
don't
Court.
qualify as a guardianship doesn't qualify as a specialty docket in the Supreme
I'll
Court.
still, I'll see, on the
But-
recovery supports, because
I mean, yeah,
sometimes they may be not doing it, but they may consider it, because it's so similar.
yeah.
People are gonna be in need
Right.
and receiving behavioral health services, so.
And these folks really are in need. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I went into
Yeah.
nursing homes and would go out to Kohl's and use my Kohl's cash to buy clothing, you know, for folks that just didn't have anything. And especially in the nursing homes, a lot of times the clothing gets lost or misplaced or whatever, and then they have nothing. And, you know, we can do better than that in this county.
And there's it's called the Angel Project. I can send you information on that. Sometimes they'll give like a
What's it
Walmart
called?
card.
Angel Project?
Yeah, we use that sometimes for people. We'll
Good
give
to know.
like a $50 gift card for Walmart or something. I'll forward you that link.
Thank you. I would like to mention too, especially since we have Brian Higgins in the room, that Family and Community Services is helping to support our volunteer program, in that Barbara Helmling and other of our future volunteers that are 55 or older are also becoming part of the AmeriCorps program, and Family and Community Services is helping to support our volunteers through a shared partnership with AmeriCorps, and providing gift cards and other support in recognition of the volunteer services. So we're very grateful to have that partnership, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could piggyback on like some of the needs of the seniors, we have like county clothing program under our umbrella at FCS. So like I know it's donated clothing. Sometimes they give you clothing, but I can give you access to the whole place.
That'd be helpful. Thank
And
you.
you can completely shop for whoever you want. We do like traveling closets for some of our programs, so they always have new clothes for people that need them. So I mean, we have a lot of resources under that umbrella.
And that's great, because the volunteers could actually go and see what their ward like.
Find
It's
that pair
available.
of shoes for that guy.
Right.
I need a
Right.
size 9.
There's
Men's
also-
tennis shoe, good for walking, right?
There's also, if no one else is aware of it, there's a place called Renaissance Family Center in Wyndham, run by David Gray, and he would be a good person for you to get in touch with. He took over one of the schools over in Wyndham and has set up a complete community here. Like, it's amazing. They serve veterans, they serve anyone. They have like rooms of things, like rooms of like toys for children, a whole room of books, a whole room of clothing, a whole room of kitchen stuff,
Household
pots, pans, household goods, all kinds of stuff. And it is basically free or like 10 cents type thing. So it's another resource to consider for volunteers for being able to get stuff for the wards.
You said it was Renaissance,
Family Renaissance Center.
family.
Family Renaissance Center, David Gray. It's church-based. He also provided the space for, free of charge for our CASA volunteers for us to do an appreciation dinner for them. It was amazing. Yeah, it was really nice. Got a nice facility there.
Great.
Okay, do we have any more comments or questions on the financial report? Thank you. We will move on to the executive director's report that will be provided by Dave Candie.
Thank you very much. Well, we've done a lot since we last saw you folks. We didn't have Stephanie at the last meeting, and we got her hired, I think, the following week. So that was big strides. We didn't have our volunteers yet, so we acquired the new volunteers into our program. And again, we're going to start expanding our roles of volunteers in the next couple of months. We moved into new offices. Neighborhood Development Services graciously allowed us a couple of offices in their building at 120 East Main Street. Stephanie and I office next door to each other in that building, and it's worked out great. We're in close proximity to the court when we need to come over and visit with Norma or Heather or Michelle, and so that's been extremely helpful to us. We've got our computer equipment set up over there, and our IT folks, Jordan and Jim, helped us get everything hooked up so we could get into the court database and files when we needed for our cases. So that's actually been very seamless, and we're happy with how that's working out. At the last meeting, I mentioned the e-guardianship program. That's widely used by several of the other guardianship service boards in Ohio. And we explored it and found that it would be a good data management system for our guardianship clients. So we arranged to acquire that through the funding from Direction Home. We used some of their grant funds for that acquisition. Our IT team helped us to migrate information from the 41 existing public guardianship cases in Portview over to e-guardianship. That information was copied into e-guardianship so we could start doing guardianship monitoring visitations for those clients. And then I think some of those cases will also come over as transfers to the to the Portage County Guardianship Service Board, because some of those attorneys want to get out from under the guardianship responsibilities, and I know down the road we're going to be assuming the responsibility for some of those anyway. So we've been very happy with how that software has worked out, and we've gotten not only our own 41 cases loaded up, but we initiated 3 brand new filings. So our target goal was to start doing recruitments applications by July. We actually filed the first 2 applications June 30th, so we meet the deadline by a day, Judge. But we now have initiated 3 guardianships, and these are part of the 11 guardianship applications that Norma had been holding on her desk, some for over a year. But we've finally been able to get new expert evaluation reports, initiate the applications on those, and the hearing dates have been set. So we're very excited about that. We're going to have a 4th one filed. We're going to have a 4th one filed this week, I believe. The expert evaluation should be coming in any day. And then we have 3 others that we anticipate by the end of the month. So that will give us 7 new guardianship cases that we will have initiated by the end of this month. So I think we're really on track to eat away at Norma's pending guardianship referrals, and we're very excited about how that's moving along.
What is the waiting list for right now?
In terms of how long does it take?
No, just.
How many are left?
Yeah.
Well,
We had 11 sitting on Norma's desk.
Right.
Okay.
We filed on 3. We've got a 4th one ready to file as soon as we get the eval, and then we've got 3 after that that we're waiting for the expert evaluations, and then Stephanie and I have to go visit with the prospective board, which we're planning to do on Friday. So we're hoping by next week we will have completed applications on 7 of the 11. Of the remaining 4, there are some where I'm not sure if they're going to end up going to guardianship. One looks like the fellow may be contesting it or moving out of jurisdiction. One of them is out of jurisdiction. One is MIA. So it'll just depend on how the circumstances change and whether it's suitable or not to be able to file an application. But at least of the ones that were ready, they just need to be updated. We've either got those filed or they'll be filed within a week.
And who's qualified to conduct the evaluation?
It would be a medical doctor or a licensed psychologist.
Okay, good. Same as probate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of the new guardianship applications, that's where we are on that. As I mentioned, one of the prospective boards that we have filed on is an APS referral. We've gotten a referral from Kent Residential. And a couple of the homes that we visited already said that they have additional clients that they feel are appropriate to refer for guardianship applications. So we are expecting new applications to be coming in from those residential communities. And then we did have one Coleman client that we have initiated an application on. And in fact, I just got served with the notice of the hearing on that one. So we moved forward on that.
So it's good to hear Coleman clients getting guardianship.
Yes. And we did go and meet with Bill Russell about a week ago, and it was very productive. We not only discussed the 3 applications that were pending in the pile at the court, but he talked about at least 6 other Coleman clients that he felt would be appropriate candidates for guardianship. So we're excited to get the referrals on that. The reason we've been meeting with all of our agency partners is we want to create a seamless transition for, clients from their agencies to come to us without any concern about delays or red tape or holdup. That's why we went out and met with John Benetti and all of our agency partners. So I think it's going to be a much more seamless process than Coleman had experienced in the past, and we're excited. And I know Bill worked with us to facilitate the application on the person we just filed on, because we still needed to interview that person, and he helped us actually get in to see her last week. So it worked very well. I'm very happy with that. So moving on to our community partners, we've actually met with a number of our community partners since the last meeting. As I mentioned, we had a nice long meeting with John Benetti, and he explained how it works with their SSA team, which Candie heads up. And so we're expecting to have some seamless transitions of their clients into our guardianship program. Approximately 41% of all of the guardianships involve a client with developmental disabilities. So we're really looking forward to working with Portage TD on making sure those people get served. And then, as I mentioned before, we met with Family and Community Services, Brian Higgins and Crystal Shanley, and that's been very successful. We've met with them twice now on forming this collaboration with the AmeriCorps RSVP program, and it's really helpful. I noticed they had a posting on their website with our new volunteer, Barb Helmling, getting her AmeriCorps RSVP t-shirt, so that was good to see. And then Catholic Charities Executive Director Rick Squire. We probably met with Rick about 3 times. We're working on additional ways where Catholic Charities can be beneficial to our efforts. One of the ways that Rick's exploring right now, they have a rep payee program in their Ashtabula office, and he's hoping to start a rep payee program locally in Portage County, so that when we have those clients that need that service, we can partner with Catholic Charities to get that set up. And then he's looking at other ways on how we might be able to be supported by the guardianship services. And I met with Karen Kravitz and George DeBoard out at Mental Health and Recovery Board to talk about the different ways that we needed to collaborate to get the mental health population clients in guardianships if they were necessary. And she was the one that referred me to Bill to set up a meeting, and that turned out to be very productive. I went over the budget with George, and he was happy about the way it was set up. I talked with him about what our plans were for the future and what populations we served. And so it was a very good dialogue, and I told him that I would bring him into the loop as we're developing our budget for next year, so he'd know where we were on that.
Diane, I apologize, I wasn't available to meet with you. I was out of the country for my daughter's wedding for a while, and
That's excellent.
but I'm sure George and Karen, they both said they had a really good meeting with you. So
It was very helpful, and it helped me to understand how the Mental Health Recovery Board functions, who they help to sponsor, and like I said, I was hoping to get guidance from Karen on the best way to partner to make sure that all the mental health clients that needed guardianship services found their entree to us for help, and Bill was extremely helpful in that regard. So I was grateful. And then we met with Direction Home, Stan McCoy and his staff. Stephanie and I went out to meet with them last week. We met with Tracy Nauer, Matthew Reed, and Connie Ring. They provided us with a lot of information. I had no idea Direction Home had that big a reach in the county, but they have over 12,000 phone calls that they field a year. And they provided us with all kinds of information with respect to the services that they can help refer people to and the assistance they can provide. What was really helpful was they said, well, if you need something, even if we don't do it, come to us. We can probably tell you who we can refer you to for help with those services. So they were extremely gracious, very helpful and informative. It was a great meeting. So that's what we've been doing in the last month. I'm going to be...
Just
Is that
that.
enough, guys?
I don't know, you're making me tired.
I have people speak of Diana and just what a great find she is for this board, and how your work is very dynamic, and how you're able to communicate with people and build bridges. A couple of people have commented on that.
Thank you, John. That means a lot.
Yes.
It's all about the partnerships, and what's so nice is everyone has a very strong desire to see guardianships work well in this county. And before, we've kind of been in silos, and maybe everyone's just done a little piece of it. But working together, we've got all kinds of enthusiasm and support and encouragement. And we've just been overwhelmed with all the help that people have been giving us. So we're very excited that we're able to step up to the plate and get this rolling. And it's just going to keep going, getting bigger and better. I'm confident. Coming up, next meeting, which is the first Thursday in September, I'm going to be continuing to meet with new community partners, agencies that we haven't had a chance to meet with yet. I also want to start reaching out to some of the local service organizations. I belong to Rotary in the community that I moved from in California, so I plan on reaching out to the local Rotary clubs. We also, by the end of August, I'm hoping that all of our pending guardianship referrals that are appropriate for filing applications on, we will have completed that by August. So Norma, we hope to get rid of your pile by the end of next month.
Look at that smile.
And then you won't even be getting new ones, because the new referral applications are coming to us. So we distributed our new referral form to our partner agencies, and we're very excited about that. I know Kelly Jo's been partnering this meeting with Portage County agencies that help with senior services, and they're very excited to be working with us as well. So we will also be continuing to recruit and train more support volunteers. And as I mentioned before, we're going to start working on the budget. So we'll at least get you a preliminary outline at next month's meeting, and then get your input and feedback, and come back for the next meeting to adopt it.
Nathan, just one question.
Of course.
What is the plan to recruit volunteers, to recruit them?
Part of it was the reaching out to AmeriCorps, because they have a network of volunteers age 55 and older. And so we're going to become part of that RSVP team, working with Family and Community Services. And part of it is also reaching out to the local community clubs, doing speaking engagements with the judge. We might even do some public service announcements in the Record Courier or some other publications. But that's the way we've recruited volunteers in previous agencies I've worked with. Service clubs are great. I know the Rotarians that I've worked with were very eager to help seniors, whether it was the delivery of food commodities or building ramps for people that needed wheelchair assistance. So I think that that's going to be a good source of some recruitment.
And if I may, that's what we did with our cousin, and went to everywhere, churches,
Right.
all over the place, and we've been able to recruit close to 50 volunteers in a year and a half. Barely 2
Right.
years.
Exactly.
So train them, recruit, train, and swear them in, and working on cases. So many of the places that I presented at asked me about the elderly. I don't really want to work with kids.
Right.
I'd rather work with adults. So I really think that the volunteers are out there. We just got to get the word out.
And I did bring a stack of our volunteer brochures. They're on the table over there if anyone would like to take one. I know Candie, I
Thank you
brought a
so much.
stack too, out at Portage DD because John Benetti and Candie have both indicated that some of their staff and some of their family members are interested in possibly being volunteer visitors. So we're going to continue working with Portage DD on that, continue working with Family and Community Services. And the churches, you're right, that's a wonderful outlet. I know Catholic Charities have said that they had people that would be interested in volunteering as well, so.
I've
we're gonna-
already compiled a list of all the churches in all of Summit, or Portage County. So
Excellent.
I already have an Excel of their addresses, their contact information, who to contact,
Perfect.
and just start going down the list.
That's a good resource, right there. So that's my board report for this month, and if there's any additional ideas or projects that you'd like us to focus on before the next meeting, we're happy to follow up on that, so just let me know your thoughts. Thank you very much.
All very good, exciting stuff going on here.
Thank you.
We have nothing else on the agenda, so does anybody have any closing comments or suggestions or questions that they would like to present before we adjourn?
I just want to thank everyone.
Yeah.
This is my dream come true. This is something that Heather and I talked about the day we walked into this court in 2021. And, you know, it's just, this is literally a dream come true. So thank you all.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, good job.
And before you leave, make sure you take a cookie, take some banana bread, take some water.
Well, you can say that.
We've got all kinds of goodies, so.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second. Great, all in favor? Okay, we are adjourned at 10:43.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Was Kelly Jo still on?
And take brochures,
She
let
helped
people
out.
know we are ready to get volunteers.
I'm putting it in every SSA's mailbox and